Same essential question as yesterday. We're just going to finish this up. So the goal yesterday was how can we graph a line without using slope-intercept form, or how can we graph a line without using slope at all? And we just went through, like, how do you find the x and y intercepts, period. So the answer to D, -1, 0 is the x-intercept, 0, -2/3 is the y-intercept. So I'm going to go over these answers quickly. So -1, 0, 0, -2/3. You can look at somebody else's paper to just or if I go too fast. So second one, -2, 0 is the x-intercept, 0, -5 is the y-intercept. On the next one, 2, 0 is the x-intercept, 0, 2 is the y-intercept. We're going to go through the motions of what we did on the previous page, review how to find x and y intercepts, and then graph a line. So without using slope, we're going to plug a 0 in for the x-coordinate, figure out the y-intercept, plug a 0 in for the y-coordinate, figure out the x-intercept. Let's go. All right, so to find the x-intercept, I'm going to plug a 0 in for the y. My bad. It's supposed to be a 3. So 4 times 0, 3x plus 0. Divide both sides by 3. So we get an x-intercept of 8/3, 0. The bad thing is we don't exactly know where 8/3 might be. Either I use a calculator or I use some sense of, okay, how many perfect 3's go into 8, and then what's left over. Here's how I'm going to graph that. I go over to the graph and I'm going to move over 2 and then maybe a little more, not exactly 3, and put a point. 2 2/3, 0 is approximately there.
Write all these out.
Eventually divide by 4 and we get the y-intercept to be 2. Let's graph it. And connect the 2 points. So notice how we did not use slope at all. We did not use, well, we used the y-intercept, but if the equation is written sort of like our word problems, we call this standard form. Where the x and the y are both on the same side. We can use this intercept method. All right, let's go again. So, got to find a shortcut method here. If I scribble out, oh wait, I want to find the x-intercept first. So if I scribble out, I can see that, wait, 3x equals 12. So 3 times what number gets me to 12? Then if I scribble out the x coordinate, or the x term, 4 times what gets you to 12? Once you have those 2 points, connect the graphs. Or connect the points. No slope involved. We didn't graph this by going down 3, right 4. Because technically anytime you graph a line, there's some sort of slope. So with C, if you cover up the y-coordinate, because you'd have -0 there, you get 2x equals 4. And if you try to divide by 2 on both sides, you're going to get that x-coordinate to be a 2. If you cover up if you put a 0 in for x, 2 times 0 becomes 0, and you're just left with -y equals 4. So dividing by a -1 on both sides, you get -4 for your y-coordinate. So graphing, 2, 0, 0, -4, connect the points. For D, if I'm trying to find the x-intercept, that means a 0 would go in for the y-coordinate. So if a 0 goes into the y-coordinate, you're going to divide both sides by 2. and we get an x-intercept of -1. If you try to find the y-intercept, you're plugging a 0 in for the x-coordinate, which wipes out that term. So if you divide both sides by 3, we get 0, -2/3. So let's look at where these are on the graph. You get -1, 0, and 0, -2/3. So wait a second, -2/3 is not exactly -1, but it's close. So that point looks a little close to -1, but not exactly touching, and that's how I'll graph my line. I'll just graph between those 2 points. So if I put a 0 in for y, divide by 5, I get -2. So -2 is the x-intercept. If I put a 0 in for the x-coordinate and divide by 2, I get -5 for my y-intercept. Graph those points. So if you want to check in, line for E should be looking something like that. So if I plug a 0 in for y, the x-intercept becomes 2. If I plug a 0 in for x, the y-intercept becomes 2. Graph those 2 points, and we have our lines. So we're going to go to Khan Academy, K-H-A-N. By the way, the last answer is up on the board, but you're going to go to K-H-A-N, Khan Academy. I've got 2 assignments.